All right, well, welcome. Thank you guys so much for your time this evening. As he said, I'm Elizabeth Walker. I'm one of 4 librarians at the Spring Arbor University Library. Let me share my screen with you real quick so that I can show you those other individuals. There we go. So if you ever happen to be in the Spring Arbor area, please do feel free to stop by the library. That's a picture of the library where you will get your information from. I understand, though, as a distance student, you may not make it out there, and that's okay. You can still get stuff from us at any time. We're going to focus this evening on the electronic sources that you can get your hands on, but do know that if you ever have books or anything physical that you want to get a hold of, we're more than happy to pack those up, ship them to your home, and include a postage paid return label with them. So there's no cost for you to return those items. So don't let the fact that you're at a distance stop you from using our resources. More than anything this evening, certainly I want to help you with your research, but I also want to make sure that you know how to get a hold of us if you ever do have a question.
Elizabeth, may I interrupt you for one moment?
Certainly.
Your screen is skewed a little bit. I can only see to the X on the extension of the email or of the phone number.
It's cut off, it cuts off the extension?
Yes, it cuts off.
Okay, let's do this then. I wish I knew what caused that. Hopefully one day we'll figure that out. Can you see that?
I can see almost, but not everything.
Okay. Is it still cutting it off, or it's just not big enough?
It's still cutting it. That's better. But okay. I'm still...
Let's try that. No?
Yes, can you scoot it over that right line just a little bit more, and then almost everything is fitting on there.
The right line. So go to this way?
How you had it before was better.
Okay, so let's do it like that.
That's probably, well, now it's, when you had it in the slide form, it was better. Or you know where you had your mouse just
right here?
Yeah, the edge of your, do you see something red, like a red line at the edge of your?
Right here?
Yes, can you pull that over to the right?
Like that?
Perfect. Oh,
excellent.
Except for the right side is good now, but the left side is still off a little bit.
Is that a little better?
That's good.
Awesome, thank you. I will show you on our website how to find this information as well, so if you miss getting this down, you'll still be able to get a hold of it. But do feel free to call us, email us, and we also have 2 different chat features. So when you're on our homepage, in fact,
may I say do one more thing? I think you're a touch hard to hear too.
Oh, is this a little bit better?
Yes. Yep, that's significant. If you can stay a little bit closer to your mic, that would be good.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sorry for all the directions.
No, that's all right. That's why we do this, so that we know what's going on and we can get it right. All right, so if I pop over to the library page, just to give you an actual location on the site, make this page just a little bigger. When you're on our homepage, if you mouse over about the library, you'll see a place that says Contact Us. And it will give you not only the information I just mentioned, including our address and phone numbers and email, but you'll also be able to see our hours. And even if you don't come to campus, that's helpful to know so that you know when we might be available to take phone calls. But that being said, if you've been on our site before, you may have noticed this gray box over here on the right. That's our Chat with a Librarian tool. That is a 24/7 service. We subscribe to this along with libraries from across the United States, and I think it's a couple in the UK. And we take turns answering questions on here so that there can literally be 24/7 questions answered. And everybody takes a turn taking part in that. And it's trained librarians who do answer questions on there. So feel free to ask questions about search terms, databases, that kind of thing. Don't worry if it's too SAU specific, because we do provide some like FAQs for them to look at. But if it still ends up being too specific, they can refer it back to us. So no matter what happens, they can either get you in touch with people who can help you, or they can help you themselves. The other thing too, if I pop back to my PowerPoint here, if you're ever on our site and you see this blue tab on the right side of the page, if you're on the page, it would appear, let me go to the home page, it would appear about right here on this side of the page. That blue tab means that one of the 4 of us librarians is actually logged onto the site and able to take questions right then. Sometimes too, if we're signed in and you linger on the home page or on a page for 30 seconds or so, it will pop up a box and ask if you have a question. So that means we're online. You'll actually be chatting with one of us if that's available. If we are not online, that chat box does not show up. You'll notice right now it's not on my screen, so one of us is not currently signed in. But either way, whichever source you use, you'll be able to talk with somebody live. The blue one just happens to be us specifically. That said, here's who you may be talking to. So if I flip to this next slide, not only will you see me, but you'll see our director, Robbie Bolton, to the left, followed by Karen Parsons. She is our reference and information literacy librarian. And then Amy James is our emerging technologies librarian. She's the one responsible for all the cool additions and features on our website. So I want to make sure we have talked just a little bit about resources, and I want to be sure that you also know that if you've ever got questions, in addition to talking to us on the phone, email, that kind of thing, if you feel you need a little bit more one-on-one time with a librarian so that somebody maybe can explain things to you a little bit better.
Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Your screen is cut off again.
That's really odd. Which side is it cut off on?
Right side.
We're not seeing the left side of the student resources screen.
Is it there now?
Better, but still maybe a good quarter of it is missing.
A little more or no?
A little bit better. Can you adjust it more?
Yeah, let's try getting rid of that and moving it this way.
That didn't do much.
No?
Can you, that's better. Can you make your, what percentage view is your screen on?
130.
Can you try 110?
Yeah.
That's better.
Okay. Can you see the whole thing now?
Yes.
Okay. If you ever do have questions and you want to have, like, say, a one-on-one discussion with a librarian, we're more than happy to set something up. This service that I'm using right now is called Zoom. We can always set that up with you. Google Hangouts works, Skype, anything like that. So if you want to see somebody walk through something with you on a screen, we can do that as well. So real quickly, I wanted to make sure that if you've not been to our page before, that we do talk about how to get to our page. There's 3 primary ways to get there. Of course, you can always type our address straight into the address bar of your preferred browser. That's just www.arbor.edu/White Library, all one word. But if you happen to be in the MySAU portal that you may use for a variety of different reasons with the school, you will find somewhere in this menu of buttons up there the library button. And if you,
one more time with the screens. Pretty much every time you switch screens, it does the same thing.
Okay.
So,
sorry, folks.
You can see most of it. It cuts off at success, but that's probably okay for that one.
Yeah, for this one, that's okay. If you find the library button, you can click on that and it will open in a new window, so you're really not losing anything you're doing over in the portal. The other place that I wanted to be sure to point out to you is that if you happen to be working within Blackboard for a class, there is also a spot on the page that will say White Library. And if you click that, it will bring you to some quick links and some general information. And if you click on this banner, that will also open our homepage in a new tab. So you still have another quick way to get a hold of us. So that being said, real quickly, I just want to mention that there are three different primary types of sources. We're going to be focusing mostly on ebooks and on e-articles and finding those kinds of resources that are going to work the best for what you are going to be doing in just, I think, a week or so here. But the three kinds of electronic resources I'm going to mention here real quickly are going to be the electronic encyclopedias, the electronic journals, and the ebooks. And the encyclopedias are great to give you that base definition of something, whether it's for helping you write your paper or just to give a definition yourself. The ebooks, instead of having to wait for a book to be flipped to you, that's something that you can get from the catalog and read right away. And then your reference articles on a much more specific topic are going to be things, we're going to focus on those things that we can get immediately there as well. So let's flip quickly into the database, or I should say to the White Library's webpage actually. And the place you're going to find any of those three kinds of resources is under the search tab. I'm going to shrink this out just a little bit so you see it laid out the way it's supposed to be. And right now you're seeing search, and on this particular menu you've got articles, books and media, and some other links. And we're going to be focusing on these two links right here. If we go to the articles link, down here you have a reference, an online reference resources link. So if you ever want to find a reference encyclopedia article, you can go here. And again, this is going to be really broad in nature, so keep that in mind when you're searching in an online reference resource. You're going to have to be thinking about the broadest part of your search. But for example, let's say you wanted to know more about C.S. Lewis and his background. If I jump into Credo Reference Digital Library, this is going to be the part where it's going to ask you to log in. Anytime you access a subscription resource, it's going to ask you as an off-campus student to log in. So this is where you're going to put in the same login credentials that you would provide for the MySLU portal. And so now I am in the Credo Reference Library, and sometimes when you search names, it helps if you put the last name, a comma, and then the first name. Sometimes you can try it the other way. So it doesn't hurt you to try both and see how it's being found best. So I'm going to do Lewis, comma, C, and you can see it's popping me down some suggestions. So here's Clive Staples Lewis. And when I press the search button over here, it comes back and it tells me that with this particular search, there are 124 results. You can always adjust that over here on the left with limiters. Limiters literally do what it sounds like. They limit your search based on the criteria that you select. So if I come down here under subjects, you can see biographies and literature may be things that would be applicable to you. Real quickly, for example, if we look at this, Lewis, comma, Clive Staples and Continuing Encyclopedia of British Literature, I can click on this and it's going to give me the full entry as it would appear in the actual book if it were printed out and if you had it in your hands. Down here, it still includes the bibliography, which is a great place to find additional resources for your research, potentially. So always take a look at those. And then finally, if you scroll down just a little bit further, you will find the suggestions that they have for your citations. Now, always bear in mind with any database that gives you this kind of information to always check it against the Blue Rule Book, because sometimes something may not be capitalized as it should be, or vice versa. Something else may be incorrect with the formatting, so always check it against your book. But especially in a case like this, where it's a little harder to pull out the reference information, this is really handy because it pulls it out for you, and you don't have to be digging all through the database to figure out what all the information is for this continuum of Encyclopedia of British Literature. Another great thing is, too, if I select the print command here, it will pull this back up in a PDF format. So it basically just cleans it up and makes it in a format where it can be printed better, and it will still include your reference information. So you can pretty easily get a hold of this and take it with you, or if you prefer to save it, you can hit that print button and then choose to save this document if you're somebody who likes to save things somewhere for yourself instead of printing them out. Now let's pop back over now to About the Library, or I'm sorry, to the White Library, and go back to search again. Now we're going to touch on potentially some books that may help you with your project. when you want to find ebooks, I'm going to suggest to you that you stick with this books and media section of the tab. This ebooks link is actually more for those times when you decide maybe you want to use an ebook service that we subscribe to, but you want to use the advanced features like the bookshelf. And this would allow you to choose the specific place that you made the bookshelf. In this case, we want to see where any books that apply to your topic come from, and this books and media allows you to search across the entire collection, including all of our different ebook vendors all at once. So let's click on books and media. And this is the book catalog, which probably looks a lot different than if you're used to the card catalogs. Looks much different. If you've seen something like this before, then this is probably pretty familiar. But not only do you have these different things you can search by, so if you know your specific title or author that you want to find, certainly you can choose one of those tabs. But today, because we're focusing on the e-resources, I'm going to tell you that in this cream colored box, you're going to go to advanced search. And when I click on advanced search, just like any other database, it's got those limiters again. So this is where we want to go to. And the big reason we want to go to this is because down below in some of these limiting areas, you have the option to say location, ebooks. And that kicks out all of the physical stuff so that all you're getting returned to you are the items that you're able to get a hold of right now. So because we know that your book or that what you're reviewing is from the Space Trilogy, one thing we may try is the word Space Trilogy in quotations. The quotation tells the database, any database, to keep your terms together. If we typed in Space Trilogy without quotation marks, it would find those either space or trilogy anywhere. Both of them would have to appear, but they could be anywhere in the book record. If we put in quotation marks, it tells that database to keep the two terms together and don't let them be separated.
Elizabeth, just note, you're breaking up a little bit, but it's probably just because of bandwidth issues. I just wanted to say one thing to them.
Sure.
Out of the Silent Planet, is the first book in the Space Trilogy or Ransom Trilogy. Paralandra is the second one. That Hideous Strength is the third one. By doing a search for all three, you're more likely to find, something that's been written on that topic in general than just say out of the Silent Planet. So if you're doing the search, and did you catch what Elizabeth said? Because this is something I learned from her that I didn't know about before. That you put the quotation around and it searches for the term as it's phrased. Otherwise, it'll split it up and you'll get something on space, something on trilogy. But this is looking for the term or the phrase Space Trilogy. Thank you, Elizabeth.
You bet. So we're going to try Space Trilogy in Lewis. When you search for a book, and in this case it didn't like this, so we're going to try something else. We're going to try Silent Planet in Lewis. Now keep in mind that what we're searching for is an ebook. We may have a physical book on it, but we want to see if we've got an ebook. So let's try Silent Planet in quotations in Lewis. I was thinking I found something on this earlier with this. Let's try this. Try one more thing. Let's try Ransom in Lewis. And it brings us to this book called Planets in Peril, a critical study of C.S. Lewis's Ransom Trilogy. This book may be something that you want to take a look at. And here's what's neat about this. When I come down here to where it says Access Book Online and I click on this, this would be the part that if you don't currently have an active session, like I just signed in a minute ago for Credo and I haven't left the computer. So it recognizes that I've signed in. But this would be the point that if you were starting a new search, it would ask you to log in. If I click on this PDF full text over here to the left, it's going to bring up this book and you'll see the cover. And if I use my left arrow key, I can move on to, here's the copyright page. And I can continue to look. So right here, I know it's real small in your screen. Let me try to make it bigger and hopefully it won't skew it too much.
Hey, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
You had other people had problems, the same kind of screen problems that we've had?
Not usually to this degree.
Okay. One, I have a university laptop. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Uh-huh.
Also, Zoom, something I found just a second ago.
Uh-huh.
There's this tab up at the top, it says that more gives you like request remote control, annotate, exit full screen. And when I say fit to window, it gives me a better picture of your screen.
Interesting.
So I see your screen better than I ever have.
Where again did you see that?
I choose the option, I get out of original size and choose fit to window. It's up at the top.
Is this from that top menu clear up top?
Yep.
Mine looks a little bit different, but that may be because I'm the one who's projecting it. That's good to know. You said it says fit to window?
Fit to window is what gives me your whole screen.
So what happens then if I go back to full screen again? Can you see this?
Oh, I can. Wow, I can. Oh, it's so much better.
Sweet. Good deal. Thank you so much for telling me that. That's great. I did not know that.
No, the problem is actually on my end. Sorry, and
That's okay. I mean, I'm glad we know that. Okay.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
No, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to readjust this so that hopefully I can show them this better. This is different. There we go. This is a little bit different book. Most of our books are in a different service, but this one happens to be in EBSCO. I like the way the other one functions, but we don't get a choice of where they hook these at. But in this case, what we can see here, for example, is it says that in Chapter 5, it talks about Ransom and Lewis' cosmic voyage as a spiritual pilgrimage. So that may fit well with what you're trying to do. Let's also go back out again.
Interrupt you one more time?
Certainly.
One thing's with the books, a lot of books, especially on literary criticism, you don't have to read the whole book to find something useful. Usually it's one chapter that's going to provide what you need. So don't be overwhelmed by a book like thinking, I'm not going to use a book because I don't have time to read the whole book. Because journalists make it cool, give me 500 pages, read a week anyway. Okay, but this is that chapter. You can just read that chapter, and this talks about things we're talking about in this class. Also, because those are from the e-books, like if Erica's the first one to check it out, it doesn't matter because multiple people can check ebooks out at the same time or be viewing it at the same time, right, Elizabeth?
If it is a multi-user book, yes, that is true. There are a few times, a lot of our books end up being multi-user, but if it ends up being a single-user book, it will say something to you to the effect of that the book can't be accessed at this time and to try back again later. So if you run into that, you'll have to come back again. I flipped over. I'm going to see if this one will show me if this is in the other service. I tried Silent Planet and Quotes in Lewis, and this one is an ebook. I'm going to come down here and see if it's in the one I like better.
So that means everybody can access it at the same time, or you're just going to be queue up for a couple of hours and you can try again later, which is really a pretty sweet thing. And can you print chapters?
Yes.
And you can print the chapter and then have it too. So the ebooks give you some great flexibility as long as we have them. Do you know what I mean? Anyway. But this is in our system. So, I mean, if you see something that looks helpful to you, write down that title and then you can look it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to see if I can give you an example on how to do that. Especially in the other service. I know that the other service, I was hoping that this was in eBrary, because eBrary will tell you whether or not it's multi-user, and this one does. I don't know where to find that on this one. I've never seen it in this service. But it'll tell you unlimited user or single user in the other one. In this case, though, if you want, let's say that you wanted to take a look at trying to see what's here for chapter contents. Let's just say that chapter 13 looks like something that you would want to use, and we see it's in page 295. So what I'm going to try to do is down here in this little box at the bottom, I'm going to type in the page number and press enter. If it doesn't erase my pages again. Nope, that still didn't work. Usually what should happen, and it's not behaving for some reason, is if I type in a page number and I click go, it should do that, and for some reason it's not. Anyways, if you find a set of pages that you want to type, so let's say that you want to print part of this. So I can do print, and I can give it a page range and tell it what I want to print so you can actually take the chapter. If you're in the other service, which is what I want to show you, Let me flip over to eBrary real quick, because that one looks markedly different from this one. So I'm just going to grab a book off of my current bookshelf so that I can show you what this looks like. Maybe. There we go. So if your search directs you to this particular database and you have a book that comes up and it looks a little something like so, you will see on this part of the page under availability, it'll tell you if it's available to one user or multiple users. In this case, it says your institution has unlimited access to this book. Over here on the left, it says read online, and if I click that, it regenerates this page, and it keeps the menu on the left side, and it keeps the book on the right side. So it allows you to not only flip through the book as though you're holding it in your hands, but it also allows you on the left side to see that table of contents and to choose a specific section that if you want to, because it's hyperlinked. So let me show you, here's the cover. It's really blown up right now for some reason. Let's zoom it back out just a little bit. Anyway, here's that. Over here on the left is the table of contents, and you can see a specific chapter if you don't want to read it from cover to cover. Like Jeremy was just saying, sometimes all you need is a particular chapter. So in this particular book, Databases and Resources, if I click chapter 5, it's going to redirect my page to that specific section that I just directed it to. And then finally, if I want to see a word or a phrase in context over here, so let me look at the word librarian. It will search through the full text of this book and see where it's located. And in this table of contents, the bigger the purple bar on the left side of the screen, the more times it appears in that chapter. So I can click on that chapter, and it will tell me how many times it shows up and on which page. So for example, it says 4 times on page 1. Down here it says two times on page 9. So if I click on that entry, it will take me to that page, and it will highlight where it is it found it on that page, and then you can read it in context. So if you are in a book and you're trying to find a particular theme or a keyword of some kind in that book, you can use that to navigate directly to what you're looking for and read in context and see if it's useful for you. So most of our books do come from this eBrary service. That's how you would navigate this one. The other one is much more basic in terms of it brings it up and then you can flip through the pages, and if it's working correctly, you can type in the page number and press enter. But this one gives you a few more variables that you can search with. So real quickly, let me pop on over now to the databases before we have to go here. And under search, now we're going to go and we're going to choose articles. I'm going to show you 2 different kinds of searches. The first one we're going to do is I'm going to drop down here to English and hit submit. And because we're doing like a literary criticism with the book and looking at themes, we're going to choose a database called Literature Resource Center that allows you to actually look at critiques of books, like literary critiques of the books that may be helpful for you as you do this. And you remember our little suggestion earlier about putting things in quotation marks? I can do that again here with Out of the Silent Planet. And I can make sure that I get rid of all of the check marks except for literature criticism so that I'm getting exactly what it is I'm looking for. I can even limit it to peer-reviewed publications right here just by checking the box, and then I can click search. Let me try that again. Well, it just doesn't want to behave tonight, does it? There we go. The other day when I searched this, I came up with several, so I'm not sure why it's misbehaving right now. Oops. So when I searched by Space Trilogy, it came up with 13 literary criticisms. And it labels these different tabs here: literature criticism, biographies, topic and work overviews. We're focusing on this first tab right here. And for example, this first one says Decorum in the Fields of Argyle, Interplanetary Genres, and C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy. If I click on full text down here, it will pull up the full item for you to read or to print out, whichever works. And down here again, there are suggestions for citations. Now this one is pulling it up in MLA. English typically uses MLA, so that's what it's pulling it up in. So again, you are going to have to reformat that to match what you need. But keep in mind that it's helping you to pull out those pieces that you need for that citation. I'm going to try one more time to do Out of the Silent Planet because I did find something the other day. It's still not behaving itself. I'm not sure what the deal is, but we can always, another thing you can do too is you can try Lewis, CS. Oops. And there's a number of different criticisms having to do with him as well. So you can mess with those terms a little bit, but you can find some different peer review or some different criticisms having to do with that book. One other thing I wanted to show you too, which is going to give you a lot more results, which can be good or bad. We're going to go to search and do search everything. And search everything is an interface that allows us to search across most of our databases at once. Now keep in mind that this may return some things you don't want because it's searching across many disciplines, but we can do something like this. We can say Out of the Silent Planet, and we can do Lewis, CS, and we can tell it that we want peer-reviewed. Sometimes it'll begin the search without you, so you can check mark peer-reviewed over here to the side. And because you may be wanting something right now, you can also specifically say full text. And now it's telling you 1 through 20 out of 377. So for example, we see things like Hidden Images of Christ in the Fiction of C.S. Lewis, Cosmic Anthropology, Race and Reason in Out of the Silent Planet, you can see Is the Truth Out There, Creatures, Cosmos, and New Creation. And we can continue to combine terms to make it work for us. Maybe you want to see ransom mentioned in there. So now it's regenerated the search again, and now we've got 233 results. So you can see that as you change things, as you add things, you take them out, you get different results. Finally, maybe we want to do Space Trilogy. With C.S. Lewis and Ransom, and now there's 131. So here's this one, C.S. Lewis on the Final Frontier, Science and the Supernatural in the Space Trilogy. Telos and Existence, Ethics in C.S. Lewis Space Trilogy, and Flannery O'Connor's Everything That Rises Must Converge. So you can see that playing with your terms a little bit can give you some different things, but certainly you can find all kinds of interesting things out here. If I click on PDF full text so that you can see what this looks like, it brings up the article on your page as though it appeared in the journal, and we can go through this. We can read it. We can scan through it. Down here on the lower right, as I move my cursor down to the bottom, you'll see this menu pop up, and here's a print option right here, so you can print that out if you wish to. You can also, again, if you're somebody who likes to save instead of print, there's that option right there as well. If I come back here to where it says Detailed Record, real quickly, I want to make sure you see that we have, here's the record for the item, which includes things like all of the information you need to cite the book. And in many times with articles, it will also provide you subject terms as well as often it'll give you a summary. Now, in this case, it doesn't. It's a book review, but it can give you a summary of the article, which in your research can be super helpful when you've got a lot of results to scan through. And that abstract is going to give you a summary to let you know whether or not it's something you want to spend time reading and digesting when you're trying to sort through so many things. And finally, on this right-hand side here is that Cite feature. It looks like a page over here. If I click Cite, it pops up many different kinds of formats. And right here, if we scroll down, we find their version of the APA format. Again, same warning, check it against your book, but it does help you to find what you need. So real quickly, I'm sorry about all the all the issues this evening, guys, but I want to make sure that you see our contact information one last time. And I just want to find out if there's any questions I can answer for you right now.
So if you have any questions, you can email or call these numbers. And usually what I recommend, if you can't find something on your own for half an hour, to call it. So our librarians are really helpful. So does anybody have any questions for Elizabeth?
The phone number and information is on the home page.
The phone numbers are on the home page of the library too, right, Elizabeth?
Yeah. If I pop over there super quick for you. If you scroll down here to the bottom under library hours, that phone number appears right here. And our other contact info, if you go to About the Library and Contact Us, we've got it all listed down here too. Any other questions?
Anybody have any? Good. Everybody. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
And did you record this?
I did. I know that it's got some goof ups though. I can provide you with a different one that doesn't have as many, or I can re-record it. So just let me know what works best for you. I can send you what this looks like, and we can decide together how you want to do
this will work. So
okay. Sounds good.
If you can just send me that link, that would be great.
Will do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.